Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today and joining the Ryan Weiner podcast. We're real excited to have you here today and really excited to have a really wonderful guy with us here. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Jay Clay. Jay Clay is a former NASA scientist, worked with computer science, and then turned into a hip-hop musician. And you went from doing just regular hip-hop to being a positive influence hip-hop. Like I told you, I told Jay Clay I listened to some of the stuff. I like it a lot. It's not the normal positive stuff, real TED Talk, real cool sounding, good philosophical advice. So, yeah, Jake, like, if you want to start, just kind of like let us know, like, what's your story? How did you come up, and how did you get to where you are? And we'll just kind of take it from there.
Yeah. Well, one, thank you for having me here. And yeah, so my background in music started at a young age. Like I played the piano. I used to start making beats because I didn't think I was cool enough to rap. A good friend told me I couldn't sing, so I couldn't do that either. So I was like, I'm gonna make beats, and I started getting real good at beats. I had different artists seeking me out. People wanted, I like Jay Clay. I need that Jay Clay beat. Give me that Jay Clay beat. And in times between that, when I was waiting on rappers, I would just start making silly songs just to make my friends laugh, and that
Yeah.
kind of began something. And then in college, we had ended up making a song for at the time Welcome to Atlanta had just came out with Ludacris and all of that.
Okay.
And so we made one for our school, Welcome to PV. I went to Prairie View A&M University. And after we made it, we were like, no, we should make a real one. We shouldn't make a parody
Yeah.
of their song. We should make a real one. So I created a beat that sounded like our band because like we're really big and known for our band here. And it was good. It the whole campus ate it up, especially because if I'm being honest, we used to bootleg CDs and I put our track number 4 of all the hottest tracks. So that blew up on campus. We ended up opening doing homecoming, and that kind of started me as a rapper. Not really, but I dipped my toe in. And then another good friend of mine was like, hey, I'm putting together a mixtape. I want your beats, but I want you to rap on it too. And I was like, well, I'm not really a rapper. He's like, nah, you can rap. Come on. And so that encouragement, helped me to just kind of step into that realm. And so for a while, I was just what you would call your typical rapper. I mean, I still had my viewpoints that I would interject a little bit of wisdom here and there, but it was still very egoic. It was the things you expect from a rapper. I'm rapping about what I have. I'm rapping about what I want to get, how I'm better than you, and just all this other stuff. And then I had a series of challenging times and a spiritual awakening that changed everything completely. The short version of that is I discovered A Course in Miracles, which is said to be a course channel from Jesus. And
Okay.
when I read it, it changed my life. Like I knew for sure that this was the truth I've been missing. It was the missing piece that of all the answers I ever wanted to know. And and then in it, one of the things it points out is to teach is to learn is to teach. It's one of the same. It's the same thing. Like if you want to teach something, you have to have learned it well enough to teach it. And if you want to learn something, you have to know it so well that you can teach it. So they kind of feed each other. And I knew like I want to know about joy. I want to know about love. I want to know about peace. I want to have this. I want to have all of these. How can I have it? I need to teach it. And since I know how good I am in music, I started seeing if I could do it in such a way, like you pointed out, that's not cheesy or not, like you hear
Yeah.
motivational songs sometimes and it's like, I will
Yeah.
never listen to that again. And
Right. Right. Yeah.
right. And so I tested it out. It was good. I liked it. I kept going. I got positive feedback from others and here I am.
That's awesome, man. All right. So you decided you left working with NASA, and so then are you doing music full time now, or do you do like coaching and stuff too?
Yeah, so right now is music and coaching. So I will say this. Back then, when I worked at NASA, it was just a way to get income. Like I always knew I wanted to do music. I had the day job, and then at night I would go. Like we were on a car show tour. We had our song playing in all the music clubs in Dallas Fort Worth area. We had our merchandise in all of the malls, like our T-shirts for our group and all of that.
Yeah.
And we were doing big things. I was literally living a double life. I was tired, sleepy a lot, but I was young. It's cool, and but things just didn't pan out like I thought it would, and we just kept having failures that seemed like I don't like it was from God. It was like God was stopping me from making it, but I'm like, but God, you gave me this talent. God, you gave me
Right.
this desire. What's happening? And each time it just caused me to go in, deeper and deeper, and just check in within myself. And every time I would lead to some greater understanding, some greater truth that just transform everything. But to answer your original question, yes, I'm doing music full time and coaching.
All right, cool. That's awesome, man. Um, so tell us a little bit about this. So you're a man with a philosophy that you want to share. So you're sharing that through music. So let's talk a little bit about kind of about life, like whatever, however you want to kind of like tell everybody, like here's what I think, like here's what I think people should know, like here's what I've discovered.
So I guess the thing is that we're all perfect. One, we are perfect beings. I believe that God is a perfect creator. So if God is a perfect creator, that means all of God's creations are perfect. And if all of God's creations are perfect, then we are God's creations. We are perfect. But on the flip side, like we are not qualified to even say what's perfect or what's not. Like the if an artist paints a perfect picture, the art itself can't say I'm not what you painted me to be because this is what I was designed to be in a sense. So just coming from that viewpoint, you can start to see life differently. A lot of things a lot of issues come from people doubting themselves or not feeling that they are worthy or not feeling that they are enough. And if you're perfect, you are all of those things. And when you start seeing through the eyes of that perfection that you are, but not only yourself, everyone around you is, it changes how you deal with yourself and how you deal with others.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's the thing. I can make some different theories and accusations on why people have these kinds of feelings of maybe not being worth everything. Maybe some different people have handed that theory down to you religiously, some people. But yeah, it's a crock, man. No, God didn't create any flawed things. That's not possible. So you're not flawed. You're not a sinner because of something that happened a billion years ago, possibly mythologically. Yeah, that's my thing. So yeah, that sort of thing is really troublesome. I feel though, like, so just in general, kind of in the world, like I know that like church attendance is dropping everywhere from like organized religion. Like I don't anybody out there who says it's not, they're like, no, we're doing really good. No, you're not, and I know it. I've seen your financial, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Nobody's giving you anything, but at the same time. I don't know how to explain. I tell people, I say the spiritual awareness field is flourishing. So writing, thinking, act, do any like what you're doing, coaching, this, everything. Everybody seems to be in this sort of like breakaway from the old dogmas, or or they're white knuckling it, holding on for dear life because they don't know anything else than what they've been exposed to in the past. And so I see that there's a lot of, I think, kind of strife going on because people don't understand what it is they're actually kind of angry and scared and upset about right now with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so an answer to that is what I see is that people aren't getting enough anymore. Like it's not enough anymore. Like you said, like those answers. You still have questions. You're doing the things you think you're taught that you're supposed to do, but you still have questions that are unanswered. People are brushing them under the rug, so to speak, and you're like, nah, that doesn't do. This doesn't work. Like, okay, I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to do, but then there's wars happening right now. People are dying, babies are dying, and all this other stuff. And you want the answer as to what can I do about it? I'm not only am I scared for myself, I'm scared for all of those that I love. And it when you're not getting answers or validation or just okay from that, you seek it. You seek it elsewhere. And wherever to get it, that's where you'll get it. But now people are tuning in. So like you said, they're tuning in within into their own spirituality, into their own connection to the divine. So that now, oh, this makes sense. I was supposed to go through this so I can understand this. Now that I understand this, I can go forth with my purpose. And all of this is happening on purpose for my purpose. And it just it shifts everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot. Let me ask you this: do you So when you said you search inside, you look inside. Do you have like a particular type of I don't know how to put this. Like sometimes when people get into like meditation and different things, they have influences from certain teachers or practices. Where do you kind of, or how did you get started in anything like that?
So the first time I tried to meditate was way before this spiritual awakening stuff, like maybe 5 years before. This is when I was really trying to get myself together physically and just trying to get all the money, all that stuff,
Yeah.
go and stuff. But not that there's anything wrong with that. So I had asked this guy at my taekwondo class. I was like, "You meditate, right? Can you show me how?" And he said, "Yeah. In fact, my sons do." And one of his sons was like 6 years old, and he got down in the cross leg position, closed his eyes, had his hands up, like this, like in the receiving mode, and he just kind of let go. And I was shocked. I'm like, man, a 6-year-old does this all the time. I'm in my 20s then. I have to, figure this out. So I went home. I tried to meditate, and first my mind was going everywhere. It was just it was just all over the place, and I couldn't really get it quiet, but it was fine. But then finally, after maybe 10, 15 minutes, I got into like a zone. And I remember when I first started, I saw like this tunneling system. I was like, why does it feel like I'm going like it's like I'm traveling fast in some tunnels? And I guess to give visuals is like on
Star
the
Trek
Ninja
when they
Turtles
go
movie,
warp
the sewer
speed.
system. Yeah.
Okay,
It was
cool.
it
Yeah,
was just
wow,
like,
that's
but it was just like I was rapidly moving through it, just different corridors. So then like, time passed. I meditated more. Then I remember seeing a being that was facing me, but a little bit higher. And it kind of looked like they had on like samurai gear or something. They were
okay.
a dark figure, but they were peaceful in the same position I was in, almost like a guru or a teacher. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So I went back, I told the guy, and he said, yeah, you're going to start seeing things the more you do it. But he said, be careful because once you open up, the doors to this, negative energies may be attracted to you. And he said, but it's okay. You can just pray whoever you pray to
Mhm,
and you'll be all right. I wasn't ready for that. So I stopped. I stopped for years
mhm.
because I was fearful of that. I'm like, I don't want
It's
people
a
coming
weird
into
thing
my
for him
house.
to say. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
can
then I
if he
stopped.
was like I understand if he was talking like if he was talking about like you doing some incantations or something, I get it. But the meditation thing, yeah, I don't think breath counting is. I've had some people that are like, you could open yourself up to demons. I'm like, no, that's not no. Different stuff, man. Yes, that's a
Right.
possibility in other areas. But yeah,
Right. And now, just for anyone watching, like, we are way more powerful than demons. Like, demons aren't anything to fear. But again, I didn't know that then. And there's a
right.
lot of fear in me. And so I think the next step, which brought me back to it, was a guy named Sadhguru. And
Yeah.
yeah. And he had this thing where it's like for 21 days, you do 21-minute meditations, like 7 minutes of, I think, of saying, I am not a body, I am not even a mind. And then 7 minutes of silence, and then 7 minutes of ohms. And so I did that for 21 days. And I will say by the end of it, I had a little more control over my thoughts in my mind. And so, but again, I didn't, it wasn't any big changes then, but later it attracted certain things. Like I was open to stuff like A Course in Miracles with
hmm
channel writings before, where I thought channeling was evil or bad. Um, and so now when I meditate, I kind of start with just relaxing everything from head to toe. And but now it happens quicker. Like if I'm in regular practice, I can do that in like 30 seconds. But if I'm not, it may take about 5 minutes. Then I just kind of quiet my mind and let go completely, where there's just no thought. There's just peace, peace, peace. But it wasn't always as easy to get there. Like I would have periods of that, then thoughts would come. So many thoughts would come.
hmm
Then actions of, oh, you can go do this right now. Go, and like you have what they call, I guess, that monkey brain or whatever that wants to just move around and do stuff. But the more you do it, the more it's easy to get to that calm space with
hmm
zero thought, and then you can start bringing that into your waking life, so to speak, like your regular day to day. You can have that peaceful, no thought. And I know that's contradictory because people think, no, you have to think before you speak. But when you have that quiet knowing, where it's not about, yeah, it's not like too much about action and stuff. It's different.
Do you know what I refer this to? So since you do martial arts too, have you ever heard the phrase like "mind of no mind"?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I worked at Caribou Coffee, and the guy that I worked with, my manager, he was a karate guy too. I did karate and there's different stuff, but we were talking about like in the morning we'd get the rush, and like for an hour straight we're making coffee and doing stuff nonstop, and you get done with that. I don't remember anything. I don't remember. I mean, I remember looking at things, but you go through. So he said he referred it to the same thing. He said, I just get in the flow and go through it, and it's like a martial arts fight. You've trained so much that when somebody throws a punch at you, you don't think, block, and strike. It's just boom. You just go, and you're like, oh wait, what just happened? It's your reflex. But I think that like it corresponds over the same way with that sort of when you're talking and when you're thinking about stuff. Like I've noticed that before. Like you just let the thing that just comes to your mind. You don't have to actually think about it. And it could be even like a philosophical question, but suddenly you just know the answer, and people are just like, "Oh, is that a quote?" No, that's me. I just came up with that. Like, why? Why do you need somebody famous to have said it? feel good. Um, but yeah, man, I swear, like that when you get into, you detach from all of the influence on you, and you just sort of go into what's naturally coming out of you. You get a completely different result. It's not, you don't feel like you're having to play a sport anymore. It just feels like you're playing a violin and you know what you're doing really, really well.
Yeah, and like you said too, like sometimes, like the quote that comes out of you, you might not even known you knew that, and so like you could get something from it, like wow, that just came out of me. That's amazing. But that's that flow state that you talked about. We've all been in it, like when you're driving and then you're home and you don't remember driving home, you just know you're there. Or like I've had it happen plenty of times when I'm performing. It's almost like I would see myself performing. I would see what the next lyrics are that I need to say and the movement I should do. I would see me from the crowd's view, and it's weird. And I would see me sing all of this stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how am I doing this? And I'm still saying my right words and everything. And athletes usually talk about it like in that flow state, like, yeah, I'm just. It's like the rim is 10 feet in diameter. Like I can just put anything in there, and it'll go
Right.
in. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. Let me ask you this here. So, like we were kind of saying things beforehand, you come from NASA there. We've got a lot going on in the world. And so we got all this different stuff, I think, going on, like we were talking about, with kind of this like spiritual evolution type things going on. And then we, of course, have all sorts of other different weird stuff going on in the world. And we've got all kinds of paranormal things everybody gets into all the time with anything of, like channeling, seance, any of this other different stuff. But the one kind of provable thing we've got going on right now, because I work with Citizens for Disclosure with Danny Sheehan, who's a constitutional lawyer. And we work right now with like Eric Burleson and Anna Paulina Luna and people trying to help as lobbyists, basically, to try and help get the information out there that they're trying to get to on UAPs and all that other different stuff. What, in general, is kind of your ideas or thoughts on everything going on with that? Like, what do you think out there that we're getting in contact with? Is it all physical stuff? There's things from other dimensions. Like, what's your take on everything?
It is everything that is possible. Like literally, since I've had my spiritual awakening in like 2018, it's like every year or every few months, it expands with new stuff that I just didn't think is possible. Like, I mean, you do have extraterrestrials, you have some that have been here, some who haven't. You have past beings, you have future beings. Even though now is the only time, but it's like you're tapping into that portion of the now. You have angels, you have what people will refer to as demons, you have different versions of yourself. Like it's so much, it's so many feelings and sensations and stuff too that we haven't even tapped into. Yeah, like I've even experienced, I call it a bliss moment. I don't know what that feeling was, but I was falling asleep, and then from head to toe it was like perfect bliss. And I just remember thinking, if this is what death feels like, sign me up right now. I will let everything go, because this is the greatest feeling I've ever had, and I don't even know what this is. And it lasted for like 5 minutes, but then I got a hint of fear, and it went away.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I like people use the word dimension the wrong way. They're like, oh, we're in a dimension. No, we're not in a dimension. We're in a plane of existence with multiple dimensions, 3 dimensions for objects, and 4th being linear time. So with that being kind of a plane, that's the other thing, is that, like you said, different versions of us. That's something, other people have said too. It's like, well, okay, so this is we're in this physical universe, and then there's a multitude of those. And the guy was like, yeah, he's like quantum mechanics. And he said, and there's also then vibrational levels above and below. So like different worlds. He's like, yeah, there's also that too. He goes like, so all this is blending into one thing. And he's like, oh. He was like, yeah, I don't know, man. He goes, it's like Richard Feynman. He's like, yeah, man, the more you think you know about this stuff, the less you actually know. Unfortunately, we have quite a few people out there that are, in my opinion, trying to make certain things happen on Earth right now that would fulfill biblical prophecies and things like that. I told my friend today, I said, good luck with that. If it doesn't work, I guess that at least, closes the case on things. If you're trying to bring about the Antichrist and nobody shows up. So there's that. But yeah, I was telling somebody, I said, I don't exactly know what's going on, man, but it seems like you've got stuff that's like, like us, that just tends to be on other places in the plane of existence that you could get to if you wanted to in a ship of some kind. And then you seem to have this other stuff that's kind of bleeding in and out of these different I don't know, levels of vibration or something. So yeah, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer to it. That's why I'm interested to hear like what everybody's kind of personal take on it is, and pretty much the same thing as, kind of my thought on that too.
Well,
go on, yeah.
Well, I'll say real quick to that, like something that made me think that we can look into science for, but we can't fully understand is like the vibration of things. So I remember that they talked about, I think Napoleon Hill talked about this, where if you take a stick, just your normal stick, and you start to vibrate it, first, you see it. You can see it as you go faster. You can hear it. You might not see it as much because it's going so fast, but you can hear it. Then when you keep vibrating even faster, there's a point where it disappears from your senses, from what you can sense. It's the same thing, but it's vibrating faster. As it goes higher, you start seeing spectrums of light. Go even higher, faster, you see ultraviolet light, which we get from the sun. So you can just say the sun is maybe the earth vibrating fast, who knows? But you start to get that, and then again it disappears again, where you might not ever see it. But even between where you hear it and where you see the light, there's a big gap of just nothing that you can perceive with your physical senses. And so if you think about everything being now and here, if they're vibrating higher, they could just be walking through us and they won't necessarily know about us. We won't know about them because they're in that space. Right. And thought, they say thought is even higher than that. So we have like Wi-Fi, we have just these wireless things that go through these same waves of vibration that we need an instrument to kind of tune into. So when you just think about it like that, you can see how everything could be layered on top of each other without being noticed until we match that vibration.
Yeah, one of the kind of theories that people have out there is that, there's these times, there's sort of these cycles where like these different planes kind of all blend and they coalesce on one thing. So no matter, like, all the vibrations kind of all sync up and you're all on the same plane. Then they start to diffuse again and people move to different planes and then they sync up again in a cycle. The Hindu religion has different, the yogas of the universe, breathing in, breathing out. So all of the different cultures seem to have these kind of time cycle things in them. Abrahamic faith is the only one that does. It's the only one that doesn't take into account for anything except you got thrown down here like a baseball, and it's like, do everything you're supposed to, or we send you to hell for the rest of eternity. It's like, I don't feel like much of the population is believing that anymore, actually, right now. Most of the people that I know that are most out Christians are like, yeah, no, I think you could like, or just whatever it is. If you're supposed to be preaching forgiveness, then how would you not get forgiveness afterwards? Why would this place exist if everybody's being forgiven? So it doesn't make any sense. So, but I think what's really funny, if you've ever considered or found anybody that's very literal about things like in the Bible, but then you'll say something about like, well, yeah, and they found the skeletons of giants in the 1800s, and they're like, I'm like, what do you mean that didn't happen? So, like, you can have all of the stuff in the Bible, Jonah got swallowed by a whale, but I can't have a Sasquatch walking around or something? I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. It's funny, it's just people are like, well, it's totally possible to have a virgin birth to resurrect yourself, but the idea of a Sasquatch being alive in the forest, no. But yeah, the same thing. I'm like, so you guys believe in one thing, but you don't believe in the other? Or like you try to tell people, past civilization, we've got all these megalithic sites all over the place that are clearly from a time period before we have recorded history. And you'll even ask people about that, and I'm like, so wait, you believe in Noah's flood and the Bible, but you don't believe in past cultures being before that? That doesn't seem to make sense for me, man. How do you reconcile that? So I think we find proof for this stuff in the strangest of places where maybe people are like, well, I don't think this particular thing's true. And you're like, well, yeah, that may be right. But however, some of this stuff is true that's in there. And we need to investigate that on a more, I think, intellectual and scientific level than we have in the past, and not be dissuaded by possibly offending people or sounding heretical about anything out there. There's Dr. Bart Orman and some other different people are kind of like leading the charge on that. But with the different, I guess the different kind of spiritual movements and different things like that going on, when you do like coaching and things like that, do you have any kind of like influence you feel coming from any like, Buddhism or anything like that when it comes to like philosophy that you kind of try to share with people?
Yeah, so like I do rely heavily on my teachings from A Course in Miracles, and one of the things it tells you to do is to invite the Holy Spirit. Now, what that means, like what the Holy Spirit is defined as in there, is the voice for God. And I think the reason that they separated from God is because it just you don't taint God by your definition. Like God is just up there, just is, always is.
Unfathomable.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so the voice for God is that it's kind of like you're rising up in a sense to meet that, but that Holy Spirit exists within all of us. So by me inviting the Holy Spirit in, I can now communicate with you in such a way that you might not hear what I say, but you hear what you're meant to hear in this moment versus what your ego is telling you that I'm saying or vice versa. And so I'm mainly guiding people to find that within themselves and kind of get out of their own way. Because again, we can all tap into that. No one is more special than the other. No one is more divine than the other. We can all get into that mindset. And and I guess on a more practical way, it's kind of like just setting your intention. You know, I intend to be good in this moment, so I'm going to be good. Or I intend to make this person pay, then I'm going to bring that energy to it. And it's saying like, no, let's neutralize who you think you are, neutralize what you think is possible, and allow this spirit to come in this conversation to help us both.
Yeah, very cool. I like that a lot. That's what I was going to ask you. I can't remember kind of how I was going to phrase it, but we've got different situations kind of going on in the world, and there's different people out there that you probably see argue, not get along. They have bad conversation, communicating skills, and that. Do you work with anybody on trying to improve like how people can communicate with each other better and more effectively?
Yes, but not in there, but similar to the answer I gave before. So like I've been in situations where I was about to argue or I was about to be in a real fist fight, and again I would do what I say, like I would drop all of that, bring up love into the situation, invite the Holy Spirit in, and when I tell you instantly things change, where that mean spirit for both of us goes away, it's instant. So, and I'll give a real example that I love giving. It's playing basketball. I'm talking stuff with this other guy. He's like 6'6", I'm 5'11", and we're going at it. We're sticking each other, going for rebounds, hustling, all that good stuff. Then something happened where I want to say I accidentally elbowed him. It was not intentional at all.
Right.
And that was the last straw for him. He got mad. He came up to me. He's looking down on me, ready to fight. And as you know, like I know martial arts, so I was thinking, okay, if I sweep him, when he falls, I could punch him twice,
Right.
run away, never come back ever again. So there would be no retaliation. But then I was like, no, I'm learning this. I'm teaching it. I'm getting a lot from the spiritual stuff. Let me see if it really works. And so I dropped my guard. I looked at him with all the love I could muster. And again, he could have did anything in this moment. He could have just knocked me out real quick, all of that, because I had no guard, nothing. And instantly, when I say instantly, he said, you know what? I'm getting too serious. I'm going to check myself out of the game. And he did just that. And we've been cool ever since. And I brought that to every conversation or just anything that had that type of energy. And it works 100% of the time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I like that. When you started to kind of change your vibration and kind of start working on things to try and get on that different level, did you before that did you have any what you would consider like paranormal experiences or like any kind of seeing anything? And then after that as well, has anything changed where you've had like maybe visitors or I know people who have like pop-ins that kind of like visually appear to them and tell them stuff.
It was interesting. I didn't really have anything before that I could remember that stands out. But after, I've had tons of stuff. And it's cool too, but I think it's because I'm ready for it now. Like I'm open for it now. Before I would have been so afraid and so scared that, like I said, it stopped me from meditating for years just at the idea that a demon or something could reach me.
Yeah. What kind of do you mind going into details talking about them? All right, cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Oh, okay. So I told you about the bliss experience. Okay, one time I was at Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I was staying at a friend's house because they took me in because I had a performance there, and and they stayed on like the third floor of the house. They put me in the second floor room, and at that second floor, I didn't know this at the time, but I remember like waking up at the next morning and I'm hearing tapping on the wall, like tap 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 tap, and I kind of felt a presence, which is new. Like I mean, I wasn't used to just feeling stuff like that yet, and there's nothing on the wall. There's a space between the houses, like a big space. So there's no way anything could have got up there to tap. And I heard it again. And so I was like, okay, well, here we go. I started getting the tingly. I was like, okay, let me invite the Holy Spirit in. Let me fill my heart with love. And I just welcomed in whatever the entity was. And what I imagined what kind of it felt like was it went into my heart and then dissipated, like turned into light and just maybe went on to another dimension. And so later I was telling my friend about it, who, put me in that room. She said, well, one, I knew you would be safe because I know you all about light and love and stuff. So that wouldn't bother you. But she says when she stays in that room, it's spirits in and out. Because she can actually see people that have passed on, like including her friends and people she doesn't know. And she also said, like, she has a hard time sleeping in the house between the hours of 2 and 4, which are the witching hours. So she said when I was in the house, she slept completely through the night. And I was just shocked by that. Like, I can understand it again because that energy that you bring, it transforms the whole room. But when I was shocked that I was validated in what I felt and what happened, so I feel like there was a demon in there. Oh yeah, I left that out. She said between the second and third floor, there was a demon that she would always have to pass through to go downstairs or to go upstairs. Yeah. And she said that wasn't there when I was in the house. So she doesn't live there anymore, but yeah. So
why did the house have so much? I mean, if she like that, different levels, different stuff, did people die in it or something? Or
yeah, so Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is like that. It was a lot of wars fought there, like a lot of stuff. It's a rich history of things.
Yeah.
And so the energy is different. Like that whole trip, so much was okay. Let me say this. So a friend that I met there, I didn't know him yet. 2 interesting things happened with him. He came, he saw me perform, he stayed, bought some CDs. But then later, my friends were like, "Man, he's kind of weird. Like, he says this town is dead, and he sees dead people." And I'm like, "I gotta meet him. Like, we gotta talk." So we were at a bar, and we were having a conversation. And so I brought it up. I said, "Hey, like, you said you see dead people or something?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well," and then it was like the music stopped. I don't know if the song that was playing reached the end. The music stopped and everyone just looked at us. And then, like, even now, I'm feeling the thing. Right. And everyone just looked at us. And then he said, "It's like that." And then everything went back to normal. Like, what just happened? And so the other cool thing with him was before I met him, there was this guy on the street that it was an older guy. He looked like maybe he was in his 70s, 80s. He was trying to get into his house. And me just being a black guy, being aware in a new neighborhood, I'm like, I don't want to look too threatening. I don't want any problems. I don't know this neighborhood. So I'm just trying to keep to myself. And I had a shirt on that said Perfect Mode, MODE, which is the podcast I used to do. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Hey, nice shirt." But he looked at me like he knew me. Like, and it was just very weird. Like, he struck up a conversation. We talked. That was it. But then later when I was hanging out with that guy I told you about, he said, "Yeah, man, I'm meeting all these strange people that say they've been waiting on me, all this other stuff." He said, "I even met a guy who said he was me from the future." And he was like, "In fact, he's staying on the block that you're staying on." And I was like, "Is it this house?" He's like, "Yes." I was like, "I met him." So, yeah. so I don't remember what he looks like because I didn't like think I would ever see him again. But the fact that happened is crazy.
So you were staying somewhere, and the guy across the street saw the shirt, and you had this short conversation with him. And then when you went and spoke with the guy who said, "I can see dead people," he's like, "Yeah, there's a me from the future, and he's staying on your street," and it was the same guy.
Yeah.
Did you go back and talk to the guy?
No, I did. I didn't see him after that. So.
Damn. That's why. Yeah, I would have been like, ding, 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 ding.
But so much happened on that trip. Like I saw through my friend's eyes because he was having a spiritual awakening. And he had fear around it, and I was there to kind of help him neutralize that fear. Like even now, he invited me to Morelia, Mexico, this past February for a retreat or a conference that was going there, and more spiritual stuff happened again. And I hadn't seen him in like 5 years, so that was a 5-year gap. And yeah, it's the spiritual world is wide open. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's very cool. It was funny you brought up Sadhguru. It was speaking of like different things being out there and stuff. It was really fascinating. I was watching him. He was at some kind of college or something like that, and he was talking to people. And they were talking. I don't know how exactly he got into this, but it was something to where he was like, yeah, when I meditate, there's these different planes I go through, and yeah, there's all sorts of different stuff that talks to me, but they're not omnipotent. I just move past it and go on to where I'm going. And they were like, what do you mean? He's like, oh yeah, like all the different deities in Hindu mythology and stuff. He's like, yeah, they're real. There's thousands of them. They all live down here. They're from like different civilizations on Earth before this, and they're like bound until like a cycle ends or something. But he was saying, he's like, but they're not bad. It's nothing bad. He goes, it's just like there's these cycles that happen with progression of souls and different things. And he, of course, but it was just funny to me. He was just like, oh yeah, I see all these different things. He's like, I've done ayahuasca. That's nothing compared to like, the meditation I get into and stuff. And all these college kids are sitting there thinking they've had these experiences. And he's just like, yeah, dude, I do this on my own. I don't need drugs or anything like that for it. He's like, you can do the exact same thing. Stop doing that and do what I do instead. But yeah, I like when I can hear anybody acknowledges the fact that you have other things out there that don't classify as whatever the hell we think of as angels, demons, or whatever. There's just other life forms out there. And I've told people, if you find it so hard to believe that there's other life forms out there that aren't physical, then are you an atheist? And they usually say, well, no. And I go, okay, so you have a soul that's attached to a physical body, yet when you die, it's going to move to a different dimension? Yeah. Okay, so what would stop anything from doing the reverse of that? What, so if you've got a soul that lives in some other frequency that's attached to this, well, then there's other types of, somebody was explaining yesterday, they were talking about physics and matter, and he was saying that one of the problems we have is that we don't have the faculties in our own senses to absorb some of the different energy that's out there that is material but subtle. And so he said, you have, like you were talking about, something that's on a different vibration. So you're passing right through it. But he said there's stuff where he considered it. He said there is subtle physical matter that is here on this plane that we just walk through, and it's because we don't see it. He compared it kind of to X-rays or anything like that, where he said, you've got a particle going through you, you don't feel it. Now, if it hits your retina, like when you're in outer space, astronauts will see the little white flecks from particles kind of like hitting their eyes or something like that. But he kind of compared it the same way. He said there's just other stuff that's even on this physical plane that isn't as physical as you, and so therefore you just don't know it's there, basically, which creeps out a lot of people. They're like, what's watching me when I'm changing? I think they've got better stuff to do.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. but even that, so more spiritual stuff that happened. A few weeks ago, my wife's husband passed. My wife's brother passed away, and when I was I was in his house, in his apartment, kind of cleaning up. I was by myself, just getting the last of the stuff, and I asked him. I was like, "Hey, if you're here right now, give me a sign." And I had the windows open just to like air everything out, and I instantly heard a voice. But I was like, "Nah, that's coincidence. Give me an undeniable sign if you're really here right now." And my head started tingling instantly as I was asking the question, but in like a pleasant way. Not the bliss feeling. This was different, but it was a very pleasant tingle that I've never experienced before. And it lasted for 5 whole minutes. And I was like, okay, that's pretty undeniable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I was going to say, oftentimes I've gotten the same thing, and I've heard people that are like, I need a sign, and I'm not talking about a leaf blowing in the wind. Like, hit me in the face or something. Yeah, you have permission. Go ahead and do it. Slap me. But yeah, man, it's trying to communicate, I think, with anything out there, if you're somebody who attempts to do that, you brought up something that was kind of a good point. All of that different stuff, if you're trying to do, you got to use caution with it, man, because like you said, there's tons of stuff out there. It's not all positive, and some of it may not even be negative, but it's just incorrect, bad advice, or. So there's that's kind of what he was saying. He said, like, you got to be careful. There's like earthbound things basically that don't have anything else to do, and so they try and like interact in life and stuff because they're like waiting for something in the future. So. I don't know what that is, but I mean, it makes sense. You hear tons of people that do all kinds of like the different. You get some people who do like channeling and stuff like that, and they seem to get very good advice and very sound. And then you get other people you talk to, and you're like, I don't know where you heard that, man. Yeah, or especially stuff that wants things from you. All the negative stuff. Yeah, that's not. I don't think anything positive comes from the spiritual world wanting and requesting things from humans. They're usually here to say, like, here's what you should be doing to get better at things.
Right, and that's why I always say to, like, literally, I know it sounds cheesy, live with love and light, because
Mhm.
light shines away that darkness. Like,
Yeah.
love loves away that fear or whatever that is, and you're always protected. And so, like, I've been living like this for a while, and the girlfriend of the guy I told you about, who I hadn't seen in 5 years, when I first came to their apartment, or the Airbnb we were staying at, she saged all of us, and she was like, wow, like, you're really protected. She was like, your guides are everywhere in here. You are super protected. And I've never heard anyone say that before. And she didn't know me at all. But they made jokes later, like, when they were scared of something, they saw that I wasn't. I was like, well, just put me in front. But they said
Mhm.
something with the car was messed up. And they was like, man, we should have just strapped you to the front of to the hood of the car, made sure we were safe. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Um, shoot, I just got stuck I had a thought going, and it just left from my mind there for a minute.
About love and light or protection.
Might have been Love and Light. Yeah, it was kind of that. So yeah, I sort of, yeah, I've kind of told people the same thing. I said, look, I said, if you're constantly like, dwelling in bad moods and stuff, that's exactly what's going to be attracted to you. Because, like, I don't know how to explain this to people, man, but there's different things out there that feed off of, like, radiation we give off or something. Monroe Institute, Dr. Monroe talked about. He called it loosh. He said you have these things out there that somehow feed off human emotion energy, and for some reason, the negative stuff is more powerful than the positive stuff. So that's why they're constantly trying to create conflict on the earth for us or something along those lines. But I told people, I said, when you start to recognize things, you're a guy who studies human behavior. I had heard you say that in an interview I was watching in. And I do the same thing. And, one of those things about behavior I learned was that, like, your emotions, when they come on, those usually turn off within about 60 to 90 seconds. Like, your brain's actual neurological function will produce a chemical that makes you feel angry, and then it stops. The human is the one who keeps going after that, because we have this idea that, like, well, I have to stay mad at this person, otherwise, like, they win. I'm like, well, are you going to take revenge or something? Because otherwise, you're just sitting here being angry for no reason. Either accomplish something or don't, dude. But if you sit there and you say, like, okay, you know what, I'm angry. I know this is going to wear off, and I'm a person who gets cranky really easily. So this is something I naturally teach myself how to do, is to literally just say, okay, I know this is just, I don't need to hold on to this, and I don't want to. Like, I'm just being angry at the person is not actually winning anything. It's just pointless. When you actually just start doing that, it doesn't work instantaneously when you start at it. But then when you start doing it over and over again, it just becomes a skill like anything else. And suddenly now, the minute I'm angry about stuff, I just literally turn off my connection to whatever it is, and it just stops. Not 100% of the time. There's stuff you're always going to, you can't, you're not a sociopath. You can't completely control your emotions all the time. But yeah, I've found that when you constantly try to put yourself in that good mood, since I've started doing that, I have a lot less chaotic, weird shit happening in my life. Like, it just puts you into a place where everything is flowing better, because nothing negative wants to hang out with you when all you're doing is radiating positivity. They just don't. It's like trying to serve somebody food that they don't want to eat. It's not what they get off on. So they'll go and migrate over to other people who want to live miserably, and they'll feed off that energy, and then the other things hanging around you. So, yeah.
But what's funny about you saying that is, I've had multiple friends that don't know each other say this to me, like, man, I should have came to you sooner, but I didn't want to bring you down with my negativity. And I always tell them, like, it's impossible for you to bring me down. You can bring me the worst of the worst, I'm fine. But like you just said, when you're in that state, you can't be around positive things. Like, you physically just can't. And so it's not that they didn't want to come to me and bring me down. It's just that they couldn't be in that vicinity based on where I was. And we can all choose to be in that place if we choose to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, man. In regard to in regard to trying to have people let anger go, man, I swear, if you could, like, teach people one thing, and actually, you don't even have to love each other, but stop being angry and go away. Stop raising guns at each other and stuff. I feel like, God, man, that's the first step. I and a lot of other people out there have kind of a weird prediction that, like, there's some sort of evolution or something like that going on with us, and that human life on Earth in the future, maybe even after the next 12 to 24 months, is not going to be exactly the same. They feel there is some kind of an awakening. Edgar Casey predicted this. All of these guys did. That there would be this flash, solar flare type of thing, possibly, which I know happened about every 6,000 years. and that would somehow, the energy would somehow bring in some sort of a change where people would remember the past of the earth and all sorts of different stuff like that. I would love to see that. I don't see how we can exist as a human race moving forward if there is not some sort of evolutionary jump that happens where people stop using things to harm each other. We're able to get a hold of 0-point energy and the stuff that these craft run off of, so we can start running our cities off of it instead of having fossil fuels and everything. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any kind of like predictions or anything you see happening on the horizon? And if they don't turn out, it's okay. Nobody's going to call you a false prophet.
Yeah. So no. So okay. The thing with predictions is like it's a choice. Meaning the direction I'm going in from the energy I'm getting will become what I live in. Like, and same for you. So unless we're aligned, we might not go into the same path, but there will be a version of you there that matches the space that I'm in. So I guess to say this more plainly, like I practice seeing the best in people. I practice seeing the loving, perfect version of people, and believing that wisdom comes from every conversation. So whenever I have a conversation, I'm receiving wisdom like all the time, and it's pretty cool. And then some people would then say, "Hey, you're wise." Like they'll call me wise, but it's more because I'm receiving wisdom from them. And it's just interesting how that works. But it's set by the intention and what I'm bringing to the scenario and situation. So my prediction is we're going to continue to step into that height, that make that jump that you told about, where everybody sees like, oh, only negative effects can come from being angry, but positive effects always come from being happy, from being loving, from being loving even when I don't have to be loving, from being loving just because, like, it makes everything more loving, where it's almost like you planting seeds of everything around you. Like, oh, I choose love in this moment. Let me plant this seed of love over here. And then they blossom until now you have a world just filled with love and light. And so that's where I feel we're headed. But again, that's because I'm tuning into that. And whoever's watching, wherever you tune into, that's where you're headed.
Man, I'll tell you right now. So you just brought up something really interesting. So, have you ever heard of any of these people who like wake up and they're like, "Yeah, I'm in a different dimension than I was in yesterday." Like in this, there was like a woman, and like in the new world she was in, her sister had not had a surgery that she remembered her having. Like she woke up and basically all of her bedding was different. And she's like, "Well, maybe I like changed it and I don't remember." And I'm like, I wake up in a bed that doesn't have my bedding on, and I'm freaking out. I don't know how this person stayed calm. But yeah, she was just like, she's like, yeah, I'm living in this world, and this is not the world I originally came from. She can tell you all the differences. There's other different people that have had this too. Or people, like, it's real weird, where like they'll be driving in their car, and suddenly they've said, or like they're in the national parks, and everything gets still, there's no noise, and they're walking, and then they're like, yeah, like they're like, I felt like I moved into, like, there's like portals or something. But the thing was, like, when you talk about if there's, like you said, there's different versions of a multiverse or something like that. Well, which universe do you want to be in? Like, you know, it's, how do I put this? Like, if there's multiple bodies you can attach your consciousness to, then attach your consciousness to the one that's having the pleasant experience, so to speak. Like, because you're aligning yourself with that, like, that's where you wake up tomorrow morning instead of like somewhere else that you were going to be. Like, your consciousness just transfers somehow to a point of awareness from one scenario to a different scenario into parallel universes, kind of.
Exactly. Like to what you described, I haven't had it where I woke up in like this strange new land, but I've experienced it where I've had, again, multiple people say, no, you used to do this, or this used to be this way, but I know it wasn't that way. But I was happy because it was the direction that I wanted. So I'm like,
Right.
well, I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to argue it. With it. I'll accept that. Yeah, my life has always been this way, or this has always been great. And like the past and future kind of revolve around you. Not that you technically go through it. It's just what you accept in this moment. It just kind of recreates. Like we render reality in a sense, like a computer machine. Like nothing, or not, I don't want to say nothing is here. Everything is here, but that which we're conscious of is like what we interact with, so to speak.
I almost kind of compare it like if you just have this big vacuum box, right, and it's filled with smoke, but then suddenly you can you can turn the smoke molecules into like a bookcase or something, you know? Like that's what you're like, you know, energy is in its quanta state until the waveform collapses and then you have a particle. But where does the particle come from? You know, what's electron made out of? It's made out of electron. That's it. There's nothing else. What's a photon made of? Made out of photon. That's it. Photon has no mass whatsoever, yet somehow we can actually, they've now figured out how to use them. They can quantum entangle photons with atoms now and make actual physical objects out of the photon. So now you can actually construct things out of light, proving what spiritual people have been saying for a long time, that all of the energy is actually light kind of condensed into something. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it's just weird, man. When you try to present people with that kind of stuff, and they're like, "Oh, okay," you know, they go home. That's it. They don't want to think about it. They got to go to work tomorrow or something, you know. So they don't get into any of the kind of the craziness at all. Dude, this has been awesome, man. I'm really excited. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. We've only got a few minutes left here. Is there other stuff, like anything you want to go on, or anything you want to kind of talk to people about, or tell anybody, any messages?
The main message is, again, just I want to say just love more, but don't fear. But you can't love and fear at the same time. So the more you love, the less you fear. You won't even have time to fear, because you're like, man, this is amazing. Like tune in to those moments and really be there. Don't be in the moment and thinking about the next. Don't be in the moment thinking about last week or next week. Like, fully be in it, because it has everything that you could ever want, everything that you could ever need in this moment. And yeah, I would love everyone to realize that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Music-wise, do you have any new music you're working on and coming out with?
Yes, so I just released an album called It Just Feels Good, which is my second album in this positive space, so I highly recommend that. And I'm working on a third one to come out later this year called Anthems and Affirmations. So I don't have a release date for it yet, but stay tuned.
Okay. Cool, man. Awesome. You've got your website, JCLAY.com. Is all your links to like YouTube and everything on that too?
Yeah, everything is there. Like, just go to jclay.org. You can find me on social media under JCLAY first, JCLAY1ST. But if you just type JCLAY, JCLAY, I should be the top one. Yeah, and I have an organization that I co-started with Betty Guadagno called The Wheel.
Oh, great. Yeah. What is it called? I'm sorry.
The Wheel. wearethewheel.com. And our tagline is transformation in motion. But we have different meetings for every day of the week, different online free spiritual meetings and things. And me and her are actually doing our first retreat in 2 weeks in Tulum.
So, oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Where is it going to be?
In Tulum, Mexico.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought you said Tallulah, and I was thinking Oklahoma or Tulsa, and I was like, oh, that's a unique place. Okay. Yeah, Mexico. That's definitely a cool retreat place.
Yeah.
Is it like an all-inclusive like resort type of thing, or?
Yeah, it's all inclusive. I mean, the retreat isn't free. Like, people had to pay for it. Right. But
traveling to Mexico can be a little dicey sometimes. So that's why I was like, are they staying at a place and going there, or is it kind of all where they're in one kind of safe property?
Yeah, it's a villa. We rented out a villa. We're all going to stay there. We have a chef, everything. And it's called Holy Shift. It's about shifting into that identity that you want and shedding all of those masks of who you thought you needed to be.
Yeah, I think I saw there was you, Betty, and then there was another girl. You guys were on like a 4-person panel. There was a lady that was kind of asking you guys questions, but I think it was Holy Shift. I think that's like I saw that. Are you ready for the shift, or something was underneath it? Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. You probably saw either maybe Tangi and Danielle, maybe, or Rebecca.
Danielle, yeah.
Yeah.
You should be there on there. Okay, cool. Yeah. I am going to check out wearethewill.com as soon as we get done here. But yeah, man, thank you a lot again for coming on. I really appreciate it. And yeah, when you come out with the new album, man, if you come on again, we can talk about that one specifically. It sounds like you got a theme for it with affirmations and stuff. So I'm into all that kind of stuff. I love it.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate being here. This hour flew by.
I know. Yeah. We'll do another one. I try to keep it short for everybody, because I know like everybody's attention span gets out there. So I know like Danny Jones and these guys do these like 3.5 hour things. And they're like, I don't even know how you feel that long. Yeah. Awesome. Jake, again, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I look forward to checking out more new stuff from you.
Thank you.
All right.